Welcome to the program. This is News and Views with me, Julie Ali. And of course, you might have picked up a bit of excitement in my voice, and that simply is because I haven't been around on this particular show over the past 5 weeks because of Ramadan and the Eid festival last week. But it is great to be back. Absolutely can't wait to get my teeth into all of these really. Hard news stories. And don't forget, let me remind you as well that I will only be on News and Views on a Monday morning. And then on a Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock, you can join me on the lifestyle show called Mid Morning Show with me, Julie Ali. Lots coming up on the show this morning. And we do know that the international news, apart from the genocide on the Palestinian people, are the issues around, do you call them trade wars? I don't quite think that might be the appropriate terminology to use. But of course, it is all about Trump's tariff teardown. Uh, I suppose one could argue the broken maths behind it and the global fallout. How damaging is this as far as the global markets are concerned? Should we be worried? Are we the only country being targeted? No, of course not. Countries all around the globe, I think, are feeling the pressure. So, what is going to happen? Can this be sustained? Is it for the betterment of the US economy? At the detriment of the world economy. So let's talk with Donald McKay from XA International Trade Advisors. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Morning.
Do we have cause for concern, very especially in light of AGOA? Experts have suggested that perhaps the AGOA deal has ended as well. How is it going to hurt us? And we know that this has shaken the global markets, but let's talk closer to home and to South Africa.
Well, it absolutely has hurt us. And I think if not in law, then certainly in practice, AGOA ended last Wednesday. The tariffs that have been imposed are incredibly large, so 31%, whereas on average we were saving 3.5% under AGOA. So I think practically we could just ignore AGOA at this point. And yes, it is extremely worrying and extremely serious.
South Africa is already burdened with the issue around very high, possibly the highest in the world, youth unemployment or unemployment right across the board, and then raising taxes and a whole host of other issues as well. Is this a straw that breaks the camel's back? Is there anything at all that we South Africans can do, should do, must do to try and get through this crisis?
Yeah, so I don't think this is kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back, but it is extremely serious. Of course, we don't know how this plays out exactly. So, one of the hallmarks of President Trump since he has come in is to do something, change his mind, and so on. So we don't entirely know what is going to happen. And, even if we know what's going to happen in the short term, we don't in the medium term. The harm here is quite concentrated on a small number of companies, which is extremely bad news for those companies, but does in some way reduce the harm across the whole country. So the two automotive companies, BMW and Mercedes-Benz, who export to the US, will take a very hard hit. Mercedes-Benz is essentially the heart of East London, which means the whole of East London is going to feel pain. So that is certainly very serious. But it is not, we don't trade such a wide variety of product to the US that it affects everything. Agriculture is the other one that'll take a hard hit. But with the agriculture, there may even be some walking back, given that many of our agricultural products are counter-seasonal to the US, which means when we're growing naartjies in South Africa, they typically are not in the US. And so if they're not going to import it from us, they're going to import it from somewhere, and we'll have to see.
I have heard that the citrus trade will probably take a knock if Donald Trump doesn't backtrack. Do we have other markets elsewhere globally that may take these products off us? But then bearing in mind that other markets as well have been hit with these trade tariffs.
Yeah, so I mean, Trump has essentially isolated the US from the rest of the world. And the answer in theory is over the medium to long term, absolutely, we have other markets. The problem is in the short term. So you can't simply rearrange a supply chain in the space of weeks, which has taken years to set up. So absolutely, do we have other places? Yes, but in the short term, no, I would think. Maybe small amounts extra to other markets. But I would expect the answer to be no, which is why I'm concerned in the short term until we can figure out what better to do. Having said that, it's not as if Trump has an answer to rearranging America's supply chain in short order either. So, my instinct on this at the moment is the country that is going to suffer the most harm out of this is probably actually going to be the US. By isolating itself. But of course, we'll have to see how that plays out.
I have also picked up on all the major international news media channels that a lot of people in the US are very disgruntled by what has happened. They taken to the streets, they picketing, they marching, and they're making their voices heard. Whether that's going to be enough for Trump to backtrack, we don't know. But let's just look at how he's pitched his move as a recalibration of fairness, as he puts it. But we do know the shockwave was geopolitical, not just financial. And we here in South Africa, though only moderately exposed to US trade flows, as you've indicated, the two car parts manufacturers and East London possibly going to be hit the hardest, I guess is in comparison to other nations, squarely in the path of collateral damage. There are also talks in corridors that one of the reasons why Trump has hit out hard at us here in South Africa is because of the ICJ case that we have brought against Israel. How does that factor into everything that we're talking about?
So I think it is a factor simply because Trump has kind of said it is a factor. I don't know how big it is. He has come after other countries who've been on America's side with this. So, he says that. I don't know how much weight to give it. But I think South Africa has played a few of these things poorly. So I'm not suggesting for a minute that what South Africa should do is withdraw the case. But I do think we had an ambassador who didn't behave like an ambassador in the host country. I think those sort of things make the situation worse. Whatever the ambassador's personal views might be, that is not his kind of role when he's there as ambassador. So there are a few of these things, not so much in what we've done, but how we've communicated it and handled it, which I think makes the situation worse than it probably needs to be. But having said that, if we'd done nothing, I don't think the outcome here would have been any different.
Oh, okay. Let's go for our first ad break. We'll be back with you in a minute or two. My guest is Donald McKay from XA International Trade Advisors.
Important meal of the day. Yet many children go to school hungry because of poverty. Penny Appeal South Africa's Breakfast Club aims to get a warm, hearty meal to underprivileged children so they can spend their day prospering in their schoolwork. Help feed a needy learner for only R5 a day or 150 Rand a month. Or visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573 to find out how you can donate. Penny Appeal South Africa. Small change, big difference.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Valley's Motor Spares. We supply motor spares and accessories for all makes and models of motor cars, LDVs, bakkies, trucks, and earth-moving equipment. We deliver on time, every time. Please contact us via WhatsApp on 014-592-0925 or call 014-592-0925 or visit 28 Zenderling Street, Rustenburg. Remember the name, Valley's Motor Spares.
Abu Huraira narrated that he heard the Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, say, "In black seed there is a healing for every disease except death." This Ramadan, experience the health benefits of this ancient blessed seed by using the Tib Black Seed range. Black seed assists the body to boost immunity, regulate blood sugar levels, reduce inflammation, and act as a potent antioxidant. Experience a holistic approach to health by introducing the Tib Black Seed range into your Ramadan routine. Available in capsules, pure cold-pressed oil, and a vapor rub. Trust Tib Health Sciences for quality black seed products. For more information, visit blackseed.co.za. Available at leading pharmacies.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Welcome back. It's exactly 18 after 8 o'clock. This is News and Views with me, Julie Ali, and our first guest on this Monday morning is Donald Mackay from XA International Trade Advisors. I've been referring to you as Mackay and McKay, which is the correct spelling. Donald, welcome back.
Told me, so I'm going to believe him.
Sorry?
Mackay, according to my dad.
Okay. Sorry, I said spell as how do we spell it? I meant how do we pronounce it? Let's look at the issue again. We are talking about something pretty serious. I think we're all a bit nervous about what's the next steps going forward regarding US and the all of these orders that Trump is, his tariff orders that he is signing off. Now, we also know that last year, South Africa exported about 153 billion rands worth of products to the US, half of which were minerals. And official sources tell us that between 35 to 40% of South Africa's 2024 exports would be exempt from the 30% tariff, mostly minerals and energies, indicating for last year at least, not all exports were or are equal. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's true. So what Trump has done is he's exempted the products that the US simply don't have at all, and which are important inputs. So yes, we have in and about half of our products that are exempted, which are basically what does benefit the mining industry. So that's certainly a very good thing. But yeah, all the products that are manufactured, agricultural products, all of that has sadly been hit.
We've also got the issue around the poultry industry, and I think in terms of what exactly is it that we import from the US? And does that mean that we we have some form of a bargaining tool if we are importing stuff that might run into the billions in costs, obviously?
Yeah, so we struck a deal with the US in 2015 to allow US chicken into the South African market without paying the anti-dumping duty to a limit of, I think it's by now somewhere around 70,000 tons a year. We don't quite hit that number, but that is what we've struck with them. Now, in theory, when we lose a goer, we also, that provision disappears. Whether that is going to happen here, I don't know. Of course, the US is going to want us to import more. But even having said that, Julie, the US have not given us a list of things that they want. So what they've done is kind of hit us, but they haven't said what behavioral change they'd like to see in order to remove it. So even there, it's not obvious to me what they want. And they don't appear to have communicated that to anybody. So, we're all a little bewildered. Chicken, it's important to the chicken industry, but it's a relatively tiny part of our total trade.
Is there any room for negotiations at this point in time, given that our ambassador has been sent packing back home? They haven't yet announced who's going to replace him. Do you believe there is room for negotiations? And let's look at Elon Musk's influence on this whole matter. I mean, he was born in South Africa. I'm not suggesting that we should expect favors from him, but his role not only on South Africa, but the rest of Trump's actions, rantings, and how he has been reacting to the rest of the global markets.
Yeah, the challenge we've got here, firstly, there's now a long queue. As of this morning in the Wall Street Journal, they were saying there are 50 countries that are trying to get meetings with Trump, and presumably somewhere in there we're in that queue. I simply don't know how Trump himself deals with this. He's created so much incredible complexity. It's not obvious how you can negotiate one country at a time. I mean, there are kind of almost 200 countries in the world. So I simply don't know how the logistics of that is going to work. Trump really has to provide the clarity here. So I hope there's room to negotiate something. But until we understand his thinking, and we can't even make sense of why he chose to calculate tariffs the way he does. I've yet to meet a single person who thinks it makes any sense. So all of this is just incredibly bewildering at the moment, and Trump has to provide the clarity, I think.
Elon Musk and his influence? Well,
I don't know how benign his influence is. He seems to take issue with South Africa. I simply don't know. Musk himself does not appear to have a friendly stance towards South Africa. He certainly does appear to be influential, but whether he'll do anything for South Africa, I remain incredibly skeptical.
Let's look at the issue around how other countries have reacted to Trump's tariffs. Let's look particularly at China. How do you think this is now going to play out? China's role in all of these global politics playing out. America has been the superpower, but China and India obviously are the emerging superpowers. Do you think that they might react and make Trump probably backtrack on these very impulsive moves that he makes?
Yeah, so China is interesting. It's the world's second biggest economy, and they have retaliated. And I think you could put larger economies into the category of at least having the capacity to retaliate. The challenge happens with smaller countries, of course. So the big countries like China absolutely can take some retaliatory action. I would also think China is looking to cluster more countries around them. So I've been very critical of BRICS for years because I've largely thought of it as a group that doesn't really accomplish anything. But I think that has great ability to change in the very short term. So China is attempting to bring others around the table with it. Regions like the EU are moving closer. We see Japan, China, South Korea, which are standing together. I mean, that in itself is just an astonishing thing. And so there's a very rapid reordering of alliances, both trade and I suspect potentially even into security areas. So yeah, I think the short-term action is there'll be some retaliation out of the bigger economies, but longer term, there'll be a move to isolate the US more completely. And the US's isolation at the moment is not imposing much of a cost on the US, but that will change over time. The US is still very dependent on the rest of the world. And I think they'd find it hard. The dollar itself starts to become at risk as the world's reserve currency if the US chooses to withdraw from the rest of the globe.
And that leads me to the question regarding the BRICS economy. I mean, BRICS for a while has been saying that they want to move away from being tied into the US dollar, and they've been talking about introducing their own currency. Is that a possibility, and is it feasible?
No, I don't think it is feasible. I can't imagine a BRICS currency actually functioning. Who's going to underwrite it? It certainly can't be China. So I think there would be challenges there. A currency is not just a swap out for the dollar. There's a reason why the dollar has functioned well. The euro becomes, at least in theory, a potential alternative. I think we're now forced to confront this reality, and we'll have to see what comes out. I don't think either China's own currency or a BRICS currency seems feasible. But I'm not a currency expert. Maybe I've got that wrong. The euro seems, in my mind, to be the only alternative which we could start to build a base on.
Donald, lovely talking to you. Thank you indeed. I have no doubt in my mind that we are still all quite worried, holding thumbs that things will change. Thank you indeed for your time and your insights. God bless.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
It is exactly 8:28 a.m. News and views on Salam Media. We do have our next guest on standby. And let's go once again for an ad break before we are joined by Dr. Aisha Yaqub.